If you're battling long COVID and considering extreme diets like carnivore, you need to hear this. I'm about to reveal the harsh realities and unexpected connections that could change your perspective. Buckle up. Hello, and welcome to this growing community of people who are ready to heal their weird mystery symptoms that conventional medicine doesn't have answers for. I'm Carrie Bailey, your functional nutritionist. I work with people with anxiety, depression, and other weird mystery symptoms. We use food as medicine. In today's video, you'll learn the pros and cons of the carnivore diet. The carnivore diet didn't really become a thing until about 2019, only about 5 years ago, when Sean Baker wrote a book called The Carnivore Diet. In this book, he explained that the carnivore diet was eating only animal proteins like beef, pork, chicken, turkey, seafood, as well as specific dairy, specifically high-fat dairy, and also eggs. The carnivore diet excludes fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains, nuts, and seeds. So I think it's important to look at both sides of the coin when it comes to carnivore diet. It's not one extreme or the other, right? It's not all good and not all bad. So let's break it down. Let's talk about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the carnivore diet. So the carnivore diet allows dairy. It allows specifically high-fat dairy, right? It wants you to have more fat than sugar. Dairy increases the mucus production in your body. It clogs up your liver, which is so important for filtering your blood and for your digestive system. Clogging up the liver with dairy, which causes mucus, it actually prevents the liver from doing its job, which is to release bile, which is so important for your ability to break down fat. It's kind of ironic because the release of bile helps you break down the fat to get it out of the animal proteins. Additionally, the dairy has this mix of, by nature, of sugar and fat in it. And so it's this mix of sugar and fat that's the true cause of insulin resistance. Even though the carnivore diet is choosing more high fat dairy, there still is a component of combining sugar and fat. This clogging up that's happening of the digestive system with dairy and the mucus is creating the perfect environment for pathogens to grow in your digestive tract, in your small intestines, in your colon. These pathogens might be unproductive bacteria, mold, candida, or viruses in the case of long COVID. But when you have long COVID, it doesn't mean that you just have long COVID and viruses. It could mean you have all these other pathogens as well. One of your liver's main jobs is to clear your body of toxins. So we are exposed to toxins through our skin, through our breath, through the air. And when these toxins come into the liver, if the liver isn't able to filter out those toxins can get into the body, anywhere in the body, in a systemic manner. And this is what causes the release of histamine. It increases the histamine compounds in your body. And you probably know histamines as allergies, but histamines are also the underlying cause of mast cell activation. So this is why people go on a low histamine diet. The second reason I don't like carnivore diet is eggs. Eggs, essentially, there's a lot of reasons I don't like eggs. Eggs are a ball of hormones that's meant to grow a chicken, just like cow's milk is milk to feed baby cows. And you're not a cow and you're not a chicken. Eggs also have that mix of fat and sugar, again, trying to grow the baby chicken. But it's this combination of fat and sugar that's leading to insulin resistance. Now, the trouble with eggs too is they are used by the medical industry and by pharmaceutical industry to make vaccines. They are an ingredient in the vaccines. They're used to test viruses and things like that. So in the vaccine, when they put components of the egg into the vaccine, your body recognizes it and creates it triggers your immune system. That's actually the mechanism of it, is your body is supposed to trigger your immune system when you have a vaccine. When your body sees an egg protein, it doesn't expect it to be in your bloodstream. It expects it to be in your digestive system. So this is what triggers the immune system to work, that eggs are actually activating your immune system. When people do food intolerance tests, eggs often come up as an intolerance for most people. And so that's why when people are sick, I like to just pull them out. It's just easier instead of running the expense of creating a food sensitivity test. Why not take them out for a period of time? And the third reason that a carnivore diet is not good for long COVID is that even when you choose lean animal proteins, these are still high in fat. So if that's all you're eating, so you're eating enough, you're increasing your fat overall. So you're probably eating more animal protein, even if it's lean, and getting in more fat. And what I've noticed with people that are sick is that most of their digestive systems don't work. They have poor digestion or they have weak digestion. People who are sick should not follow this diet because generally their digestive system isn't working optimally, which could have been part of the reason that led them to getting sick in the first place. Likely the digestive system is poor or slow or weak. And animal proteins are the absolute hardest of the macronutrients for our body to digest. If you need a little extra support in removing eggs, dairy, and other fats from your diet, check out my anxiety and depression recovery guide in the description and the comments below. There you will find tips and tricks and recipes and everything you need to get you started on this healing journey. All right, let's jump back to my fourth and probably the biggest reason that the carnivore diet is not the optimal diet for someone with long COVID. It's the absence of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are the main source of nutrients in your diet. It is vitamins, it is minerals, phytonutrients. No supplement can replace the nutrients and the chemicals. I don't think we as humans even know all of the amazing nutrients that are in fruits and vegetables. And so we need to have those in our body in order to heal. The other thing that's the other nutrient in fruits and vegetables that you're not getting in the carnivore diet is glucose. This diet is not sustainable without glucose. I know, here's where everybody says, oh, but your brain only needs fat. Well, if you are in ketosis, true ketosis, and I would argue that probably most people that are on the carnivore or keto diet are not necessarily in ketosis. But if you're in ketosis and you can use fat for fuel, that might be great. And again, these are the diets that I think might be well if you're an athlete or a super fit person. But for someone who's sick, these are not the best diets. You need that glucose. You need more glucose than the regular person. So not having enough glucose in the body is one of the things that leads to low energy. Your body uses glucose as an immediate energy source. If you're eating a high-fat diet, a couple things are going to happen. When you eat high fat, your body produces more adrenaline in order to thin your blood to get that fat into your brain. So it's important to understand that in that environment, you're actually creating a more acidic environment with all that adrenaline. Your body's natural response to excess fat and excess adrenaline is to release glucose. And so where is that glucose coming from? It's coming from storage forms in your body that are really reserved for emergencies. Like if you're hospitalized or you got in a car accident, you need that glucose in your body to be able to be released in emergencies. And so instead, when you're eating a high-fat diet, that and creating all that adrenaline, the glucose is coming in to dampen that. Imagine this, in this scenario of high-fat diet, you're not only low in glucose, but you're also low in hydration, because when your blood is thick with fat, it cannot hold water as well. That's the perfect environment that causes dehydration as well. On the carnivore diet, there is no source of glucose. And so in order to get nutrients into cells, your body needs glucose. Glucose is like opens the door, if you will, to the cell and says, come on in, bring in the nutrients. And the best sources of glucose in the human diet are fruits and starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, squashes, as well as honey and maple syrup. I would argue, depending on how long you have been on carnivore or anybody on carnivore, I would be really curious if they're not craving sugar at times. And to me, that craving for sugar is a call to have glucose into your body. Maybe someone's on carnivore and they're telling you when they're on carnivore, and they're not telling you when they're cheating. Sorry, I don't like the word cheating, but when they're craving sugar and they're reaching for sugar and they're going to go have a little sugar thing. But for the most part, they're carnivore, except for this little bit of sugar. That should be like just intuition. Listen to your body. Your body's telling you it wants sugar, giving into that craving in a different way. And we'll talk about that more at the end. The other thing I suspect you would crave on a high meat diet would be salt. You may be salting your meat before you eat it. And so therefore you're not craving the salt. And again, too much salt is leading to, again, further to dehydration. The craving for salt is what it's really asking for when you're craving for salt, or the natural mineral salts that you're getting from vegetables. All right, now that I'm done beating up carnivore, let's talk about some of the pros of the carnivore diet, why you might want to choose the diet. Well, first of all, it's easy. There's absolutely no planning. It's not hard to buy a piece of meat and cook a piece of meat. Absolutely the easiest thing in the kitchen to do, in my opinion. It's easy. There's no planning, there's no chopping, there's no recipes. You just cook the meat. Primarily, you would have to eat less often. I imagine most people on carnivore are probably eating once or twice a day. They're not having to eat 3 times a day. That just makes life easier, right? And it does improve your blood glucose level because for the most part, you've taken out any sugar from your diet, right? Except for the stores that your body might be releasing in response to that fat. Your blood glucose levels should be coming down. But again, it's a double-edged sword because your body needs that glucose. It just needs it away from the fat. A lot of people tell me that carnivore relieved their symptoms. And I've seen so many stories on YouTube, from personal stories about I went on carnivore and all my symptoms went away. So here's my hypothesis on that. I always have to ask the question, well, what diet were you on before you came to carnivore? And I would argue that if you came from a standard American diet where you're eating pizza and mac and cheese and gluten and dairy and French fries and all the things, and then you transition to carnivore, of course you would feel better because you stopped, my hypothesis is you stopped combining fat and sugar together because those are the things that are triggering symptoms. So yeah, on carnivore, probably not eating bread, probably not eating any refined carbohydrates. That could be why you're feeling better. So you almost have to think about not just what this diet did, but where you came from. Really important. Probably got rid of gluten, probably got rid of sugar. I want you to know that this is not an anti-animal protein talk by any means. It's not an all or nothing diet, right? I love a big, juicy, grass-fed ribeye steak. Right? I'm not going to eat it every day, 3 times a day. Let's say you're on the carnivore diet and you want to transition to something that's going to be a little bit healthier for long COVID. I want to walk you through some steps to get you there. So the first step I would say is if you're only eating meat, the first step you could do is bring in non-starchy vegetables to those meals. So hopefully you're going to reduce your animal protein a little bit. You're going to bring in non-starchy vegetables. You can Google non-starchy vegetables, but it's things like leafy greens and asparagus and broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower and so many things, cucumber and tomatoes and spinach. Those are your non-starchy vegetables. And when you bring those in with animal protein, you're not combining fat and starch. So those aren't sugary vegetables. So those are a good combination to have is animal protein with non-starchy vegetables. They try to bring in more of those non-starchy vegetables, decrease your animal protein intake. That's your step 1. Step 2 is how do we get the glucose back in? I like to use breakfast because breakfast, there's nothing in the system. There's no fats in the system. You probably ate at dinner. You slept all night and you haven't eaten. So in several hours. So it takes about 4 hours for fat to make it through your digestive system before you can put something new in it that's not going to compete with it. I like to use breakfast as a lot of things as a test, right? But a way to bring fruit into the system. So for breakfast, if you have a big bowl of fruit, you could have multiple pieces of fruit, multiple servings, right? It might take a lot to fill you up. So you might need bananas and berries and mango and papaya, all those things for breakfast in a bowl or a smoothie, either one of those. But don't have any fat with it. Don't put cream in your coffee. Don't put any fat at all in the system with the fruit. It should be on empty stomach with just fruit. Give yourself 1 hour to digest it. Fruit digests really quickly. It digests in 1 hour. When you digest that fruit, 1 hour later, you could eat anything really, but that's when it's safe to eat a fat if you wanted to bring a fat in. Now, I like to try to challenge people, my clients especially, to have no fat before lunch. So let's say you ate your big bowl of fruit at 7 a.m. By like 9 o'clock, you're hungry, or 10 o'clock, you're hungry and you're not eating till noon. Eat more fruit. Just keep eating fruit. And then just make sure that when you're done eating fruit, by the time you get to 1 hour before lunch, whenever that lunch schedule is, or whenever you're hungry, then you stop eating the fruit so that it doesn't commingle with the fat that you might have in your lunch. And then again, have that lunch that you had before, the animal protein and the non-starchy veggies, or have a salad without animal protein. We should talk about protein sometime at some point. Like, how much protein do you need? That's always a big question that I get. It's so much harder to get fruits and veggies in the systems. I'm not usually worried about people getting enough fat. I'm more worried about people's ability to break down and digest their animal protein. The other thing you could have, if you didn't want a big bowl of fruit for breakfast, you could bring in potatoes, sweet potatoes. Again, just cook them in a way that you don't have fat with them. I like to put salsa on a sweet potato. It's just my favorite way to eat. It's super easy to do and yummy. And what you can start doing for lunch is a sort of a step 3. Maybe you do salads for lunch. You pick a big old leafy green salad, pick romaine or spinach or arugula, right, as your base, and then add in whatever your favorite veggies are, right? Peppers, cucumber, carrots, radishes, whatever your favorite veggies are, bring those in for lunch. If I can challenge you to not have oil with that or nuts or seeds, instead have maybe just use avocado. So avocado is a natural fat. Make it dressing out of avocado. You could even make a guacamole as your dressing, right? Thin it out with some lemon juice or something, or lime juice. And so that the only source of fat on your veggies is avocado. That's a great way to reduce you, because you want to reduce your overall fat as well. And then for dinner, keep having your carnivore dinner, your animal protein, your non-starchy veggies. But again, you're separating your glucose from your fat. That's our goal in doing this. Now, you could do other things. You can put veggies in your fruit. Those two can mix fine. So you could put spinach or kale or cilantro or parsley in your breakfast smoothie if you want to do that. That totally works as well. And the last thing I want to add is, if you are having a salad at lunch, so if you're a person with having digestive issues and you're not digesting salad well, if those are too harsh, things like that I think are really hard to digest are like cruciferous vegetables like kale, cabbage, and things like that. If that's too hard on your digestive system, I would encourage you to have a very light lettuce, which is butter. Butter lettuce is very soft and gentle. It's not going to irritate your digestive tract. In summary, you learned that eating a diet with eggs, dairy, excess fat, no fruits, no veggies is probably the worst diet that you can eat for long COVID. You also learned why choosing the carnivore diet is easy. It improves your glucose, and why it's actually the elimination of sugar and fat that is the success of why carnivore works for you and reduces your symptoms. And lastly, we talked about how to transition from carnivore into a healthier way of eating so that you can recover from long COVID. If you love this video, give me a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next video.